In Revenge of the Sith, we see Anakin Skywalker confide in Master Yoda and ask him for guidance to deal with his nightmares. However, Yoda gave the most Jedi textbook routine and downright bad advice by telling Anakin to let go of everything he fears to lose. This wasn't an option, and I think deep down even Yoda knew this wasn't an option. So what if, instead of Yoda just sticking with this bad advice, he actually helped the Chosen One with his nightmares? Hey guys, just to let you know about our Christmas sale, we are doing 15% off store-wide with code Christmas. Order before the 8th of December to guarantee your order arrives for Christmas Day. But if that isn't a priority, we will keep the sale running until the 25th of December. Now back to the video. Let's start today's story at the council chambers during a meeting the following day after Yoda's poor advice. As the Jedi Masters discussed the state of the war, Yoda couldn't help but feel his senses drifting to young Skywalker. He was trying to contain himself, to not let his emotions run rampant and cause an outburst. He was there physically, but his mind was elsewhere. Yoda looked around to see if anyone else had noticed, but it appeared to be just him. After all, he had the context of understanding the turmoil Anakin was going through. The boy was visibly shaken and distraught from his premonitions. Yoda knew something was horribly wrong, more wrong than he had originally thought. Because of this, when the council were voting who to send to Kashyyyk, Yoda would decide to remain on Coruscant to help the Chosen One. In his place, Kit Fisto is sent to the Wookiee plantation. After the meeting, Yoda tells Anakin to come with him. They go back to the meditation suite where Yoda tells Anakin that he can sense the conflict within him. These premonitions aren't just small inconveniences that are eating away at him, but instead, they are changing his entire perspective on the Force and its powers. Anakin nods, not understanding where this confrontation is going. Skywalker was eating himself alive. He didn't know what to do to save Padme. On the one hand, the Jedi had offered no guidance to him and cast aside his feelings of fear and trepidation. But on the other hand, Palpatine had told him the tale of Darth Plagueis. If he gave himself over to evil, then perhaps his wife would survive. Yoda would instill wisdom in Anakin, speaking of a long tale of how Jedi are meant to be stoic, guardians of the Force. Yoda apologizes for the way he acted yesterday in their meeting. His advice was rugged and emotionless. He told Skywalker that almost every Jedi that comes to him for advice simply needs to be pointed back on the right course of focusing their mind on the Force. The Grandmaster explained this is a common issue with new Jedi Masters. They fear for their Padawans' lives. They feel as though their failures and pain is their fault. To correct this, Yoda instructs the Masters to focus on the Force, to let go of their external fear and be stoic. But he also accepted that this wasn't always the case. Yoda misunderstood Anakin's issues yesterday, but now he was willing to help him. He tells Anakin that he must tell him what is bothering him specifically in his nightmares so that he can know the true way to help him. Anakin was at first taken aback and his initial reaction was, I'm not gonna tell Yoda about Padme. But then he thought about it. He knows he can trust Master Yoda. He is different to the other masters, like Windu, who only wants to see his downfall. Perhaps Yoda will understand, and if there is anyone in the Jedi who would have any idea how to help Padme, it's him. Anakin reluctantly tells the Grand Master about Padme, the pregnancy, and how he sees her dying in childbirth. Yoda was at first taken aback and entered into a state of shock. In taking these sessions with Anakin, he had come to his own conclusions about things, and he believed that Anakin was seeing Ahsoka die, not Padme. But he knew that he had to keep a strong face for Skywalker, knowing that the results of this meeting could potentially have consequences for the entire galaxy. As Yoda meditates on how to assist the Chosen One, he tells the boy to follow him. Together, they go to the Jedi archives where Yoda leads Anakin to the restricted section. Anakin had never been here before, as it was only allowed for Jedi Masters. But as Grand Master, Yoda could do whatever he wanted. Yoda understands that Anakin's fears stem from the unknown and his strong attachment to Padme. Therefore, he takes a different approach. Fear of death is something that Yoda has seen in countless Jedi over the centuries. Because of the Jedi's power, some Force users believe there must be some way to cheat death, as Anakin is searching for right now. Unfortunately, Yoda tells the boy that you can't cheat death, it's an abomination of the Force, and nature will strike back even harder, killing everyone you know and love. Instead, he focuses on teaching Anakin how to harness and control his emotions, helping him to develop a stoic resilience in the face of terrifying visions. Yoda was arguably the best Jedi Master to instruct Anakin on this, as the Green Grand Master was one of the few Jedi who could sense into the future. Premonitions, if used correctly, could be a Jedi's most valuable ally, but those untrained will succumb to the fear of the future. Yoda emphasizes that fear and desperation cloud judgment, but calm and clear thinking can illuminate the path forward. To deepen Anakin's understanding, Yoda retrieves the oldest holocron of Force visions from the restricted section, an artifact containing ancient Jedi wisdom that no Knight or Padawan had ever studied. These restricted secret holocrons were unlike anything found in the common archives. They were personalized, in-depth, and focused on the most specific aspects of the Force. For thousands of years, the Jedi and Sith had researched the Force, and within these holocrons were every piece of information a Force user would ever need. As they activate the holocron, the teachings reveal that visions are not absolute or fixed, but are simply one possible outcome among countless others. The holocron's creator, an ancient Jedi Master, speaks directly to this, explaining that the Force reveals potential futures as a guide, not a prophecy, and that one's choices in the present can alter or avoid feared outcomes entirely. This was what Yoda was trying to get Anakin to understand, that succumbing to a vision that isn't set in stone will speak it into existence. Instead, he has to let the flow of the Force carry its course, and the true outcome will reveal itself. Anakin was still confused and inquired with Yoda that what if the true outcome is that Padme and his child die. Yoda, stoic and cold, told Skywalker that's the way the Force intended this timeline to be. You can't change it, you must simply accept it. But Anakin refused to just stand there and not do anything whilst the love of his life potentially died, knowing that he could try and save her. But that's the point that Yoda tried to stress, that the vision of Padme's death is not inevitable, and by approaching the future with strength and emotional control, he can make decisions that foster peace rather than letting fear drive him into darkness. The duo would spend the following hours practicing techniques on controlling fear and emotions. These started out as basic Jedi mind tricks that Anakin had done a million times. But no one was a better teacher than Yoda, and before long, Yoda was giving Anakin his own Force visions, allowing him to encounter his fears head on. He saw Padme being killed, his children abducted, tortured. He saw the darkest parts of humanity, and in the face of that, Anakin learned to remain stoic. Strong and wild emotions will not help him, but a simple, calm demeanor which looks at the situation and then does the best next step possible with the tools he is given. This notion made Anakin a far greater Jedi overnight. At the end of the sessions with Yoda, the Grand Master would tell Anakin that when the time came if Padme was in danger during childbirth, he'd have the full support of the Jedi Council, and they would ensure that she is okay. As for Palpatine, he would discover that Yoda helped Anakin gain control over his emotions and become extremely upset. He knew it would be too risky to reveal his identity as Sidious and turn Anakin to the dark side now, without truly understanding the extent to Yoda's teachings. Therefore, the next 2 weeks would continue as normal. Anakin would continue his training with Yoda. Palpatine was furthering his discontentment of the Jedi through the Republic, and the Chancellor felt as though his plan was going accordingly. However, soon after, Padme goes into labor where she begins the process of giving birth. Anakin would call Yoda and tell him what's happening, and the Grand Master would accompany the Jedi as he goes to the birth of his child. This was the biggest moment they had been waiting for, and as they arrived, Padme was shocked to see Yoda there, but Anakin said it was okay. Yoda had kept their secret quiet and hidden from the council. He knew that this was the best for Anakin, and since Anakin was the chosen one, he had to be properly trained. After hours of grueling pain and suffering, Padme successfully gives birth to twins whom she names Luke and Leia. She survived and she didn't succumb to her wounds. Anakin's shock had never been greater. He couldn't believe that his wife had survived. Anakin tells Yoda that he wished he'd known the visions were fake weeks ago, so he didn't have to worry or stress. But that's when Yoda imparted the most important lesson to date upon Anakin. The Force visions he received were real, and it could have come true. It came from the darkest parts of his subconscious, the parts of the Force that wished to see the dark side flourish. If Anakin had given himself over to the vision and sought the dark side and any proactive evil way of saving Padme, then he would have fallen to the dark side and she would have died. But instead, he let the Force run its course. Anakin asked Yoda why he helped him and why he hasn't just been expelled for breaking the Jedi code. Yoda sighed. He knew this question was coming. Yoda explained that Anakin had gone against the Jedi code, but they will deal with it once the Clone Wars is over. Anakin is too important for the war effort, and he knows that the Chosen One is doing his best. Through all of this, Anakin's attitude towards the Jedi had changed, especially since Yoda had gone out of his way and against the Jedi code to help him personally. This is the true nature of being a Jedi. Anakin had chosen a different path. A path of being good. Palpatine was furious. He knew that his chances of turning Anakin to the dark side were now gone, since Padme had successfully given birth, and Yoda had taught Anakin how to control his emotions. The Dark Lord's rage knew no bounds, and he sought to put Skywalker in the most pain possible. That night, Sidious plants another vision in Anakin's head about his kids in the future, and how the Jedi are going to take them from him, torture and kill them. Anakin woke up panting. He couldn't believe it. As Anakin raced out of his bed and meditated at the passing Coruscant nighttime skies, he calmed himself. He didn't act irrationally like last time, but remembered his training with Yoda and how this might not be true. Anakin goes and tells Yoda about the dreams, but this time, Yoda was more concerned than before. Something that confused the boy. Once again, they go to the restricted section where they open up the same holocron about Force visions. The holocron imparts the wisdom that Force visions won't constantly be there every day. They are simply imaginations of a potential fear for the future, but once that fear is overcome, the future will subdue. Yoda knew that Anakin had overcome his fear. This was something different. Yoda explained that the only explanation was that someone was planting these dreams into Anakin's head. This confused Anakin, but Yoda explained just how he would give him Force visions during their training. Another being could do the same. But to be able to do it at the extent that Anakin was receiving them insinuated that this was from a powerful dark side entity. Anakin asked if it could be the Sith Lord, to which Yoda nodded. It made sense. If you were the Dark Lord of the Sith, surely your main target would be the Chosen One, who is prophesied to kill you. Yoda asked Anakin if he had any inclinations as to who could have given him these visions. The Grand Master was desperate, asking Anakin to think outside the box. At first, Skywalker didn't provide an answer, but Yoda implored Anakin to think. One thought did come to mind, but Anakin knew it would be nothing, but he said it nonetheless. He explained the tale that Chancellor Palpatine explained to him of Darth Plagueis the Wise, and how he knew to cheat death. This was it, Yoda thought to himself. Yoda explained that the council had suspected that Palpatine had ties to the Sith, or at least someone in Palpatine's office, for some time now, and in Yoda's mind, this confirmed it. It is important to note that neither of them suspected Palpatine to be the Sith Lord, but they did think that perhaps Palpatine was working with the Sith. The two leave and call the council members on Coruscant. From here, the council, now understanding that the Chancellor is double-crossing them, would move to get him out of power. They couldn't just go and rush him, they had zero legal backing. This is why, in Revenge of the Sith, the council tasked Anakin with spying on Palpatine to get some sort of proof. At this point, the war is essentially over. Count Dooku and General Grievous are dead, and the Separatist forces are almost completely gone. Not to mention that Mandalore had now pretty much fully sided with the Republic. This was how Palpatine had designed the war to go, so that when he took over power as Emperor, he still wasn't fighting the Separatist army. The Jedi Council, just how they did in Revenge of the Sith, would move to take emergency power from the Chancellor. This was imminent, and almost everyone was expecting it. But since Anakin wasn't directly under Palpatine's grasp as he was in the original timeline, Palpatine knew that he had to do something different. He had a plan B, ready to be set in motion in case anything to do with Order 66 had to be delayed or cancelled. Only hours before the Jedi had planned to order the Chancellor to return his powers back to the Senate, Palpatine released fabricated footage of the Jedi attacking Palpatine that's released to the Senate. Palpatine was smart, and he knew the Senate would buy this. The key thing that Palpatine had done throughout his time in office was positioning himself to a level of trust and power within the Republic. Everyone loved him, and everyone now didn't trust or believe the Jedi as much as they used to. The war had shaken the Jedi and turned them into soldiers rather than peaceful mediators. The Senate votes to strip the Jedi of their authority, and Palpatine uses this opportunity to further consolidate his power, portraying himself as the Republic's only hope for stability. The Jedi, now isolated and branded as traitors, are forced to act carefully to avoid escalating tensions. Yoda and Mace Windu are aware that someone in Palpatine's office has ties to the Separatists, but unaware that Palpatine is the Sith Lord. Together, Yoda and Windu work discreetly with Padme Amidala and Bail Organa, two of the few senators who still trust the Jedi, to counter Palpatine's growing influence. They carefully plan their moves, knowing that the wrong step could provoke open war between the Jedi and the Republic, which would play directly into Palpatine's hands. Padme and Bail use their political influence to demand a Senate inquiry into Palpatine's wartime decisions, pointing out the irregularities in his prolonged emergency powers and his increasingly autocratic behavior. These calls for accountability spark heated debates within the Senate, dividing its members into factions, those loyal to Palpatine and those beginning to question his actions. Meanwhile, public opinion continues to turn against the Jedi due to the fabricated footage and Palpatine's propaganda machine, which paints the Jedi as power-hungry traitors seeking to overthrow the Republic. As the Jedi's reputation deteriorates further, Palpatine decides to make a bold and decisive move to solidify his control. He stages an elaborate assassination attempt on himself, orchestrating every detail to make it look like a coordinated Jedi attack. Explosions rock the Senate building during a public session, and Palpatine narrowly escapes harm, dramatically appearing before the Senate in the aftermath, visibly shaken and accusing the Jedi of trying to kill him and seize power. This spectacle sends shockwaves throughout the galaxy, with the public rallying behind Palpatine, now seen as a heroic figure standing firm against alleged Jedi aggression. However, the plan takes an unexpected turn when the assassin hired to carry out the attempt fails to complete their mission and is captured alive by the Jedi during their escape. Recognizing their opportunity, the Jedi detain the assassin and begin a thorough interrogation. The captured assassin, under pressure, confesses that they were hired by Mas Amida, Palpatine's closest advisor, to stage the attack. This revelation is a turning point, directly linking Palpatine's office to the conspiracy and casting doubt on the accusations against the Jedi. Though still cautious, The Jedi Council presents this evidence to the Senate in a dramatic session. Senators loyal to Palpatine attempt to discredit the Jedi's claims, but the revelation causes widespread outrage among many senators who had been on the fence about the Chancellor's true intentions. The Republic is thrown into chaos as trust in his leadership crumbles. Sensing his grip on power slipping, Palpatine declares martial law, claiming it is necessary to maintain order in the face of growing instabilities. He deploys loyal clone forces across key systems, framing it as a move to protect the Republic, while in reality, it is designed to isolate the Jedi further and suppress dissent. The galaxy teeters on the brink of collapse, with lines between friend and foe blurring, as Palpatine uses the chaos to tighten his control, while the Jedi and their allies struggle to rally support in the fractured Republic. The Jedi Council gathers in secrecy, burdened by the weight of the galaxy's future. With Palpatine's martial law in effect, clone forces loyal to him are occupying key systems, and senators opposing his rule are being silenced or arrested. The Republic they swore to protect is crumbling, and it is clear to the Council that Palpatine has become too powerful to stop through political means alone. Yoda, Windu, and Anakin argue that waiting any longer will allow Palpatine to consolidate even more power, making him untouchable. They know that the Jedi's public image is already damaged beyond repair, but they also understand that saving the Republic from tyranny is more important than preserving their reputation. If Palpatine is not removed, the Republic's democratic foundations will be destroyed, and the Sith's influence will consume everything. Reluctantly, the Council decides to act, even though the risk is enormous. They reach out to their remaining allies, including Padme Amidala, Bail Organa, and Mon Mothma, who secretly rally senators and planetary leaders willing to stand against Palpatine. Though the odds are against them, the Jedi and their allies resolve to fight, knowing that this is their last chance to restore freedom to the galaxy. As Palpatine tightens his grip on the galaxy, the coalition of Jedi, loyal Republic forces, and independent senators prepares a coordinated counterattack. Knowing they're the last line of defense, the Jedi take a lead in the operation, using their remaining resources and military expertise to target key locations held by Palpatine's loyalist forces. Amidala and Organa work tirelessly to rally support from senators and systems disillusioned by Palpatine's growing tyranny. They are able to convince many to join the resistance, forming a united front against the Chancellor. The strategy is clear: expose Palpatine's corruption to the galaxy and cripple his military strength. Jedi generals lead surgical strikes on strategic outposts and loyalist strongholds, ensuring minimal casualties by subduing the clone soldiers with non-lethal force. The clones, though loyal, are treated with restraint. They are stunned or knocked out, never killed, as the remaining Jedi are committed to the ideals of peace and justice. These victories bolster the coalition's cause, sending messages of hope across the galaxy and encouraging more to rise up against the Chancellor's rule. The final phase of the plan brings the Jedi to Palpatine himself. As the battle rages outside, the Jedi and their loyal allies press forward, determined to arrest Palpatine and force him to give up his power. When the Jedi confront him, Palpatine, now aware of their intent, refuses to relinquish control, declaring that he is too powerful and that nothing can stand in his way. His words are defiant, but the Jedi are resolute. Without hesitation, they ignite their sabers, creating a circle of light around him. With quiet authority, they demand that he step down. Palpatine was surrounded and outnumbered, but he continues to resist, and the Jedi remain firm. Knowing that this was his only option, in one swift move, Palpatine calls two lightsabers to his grasp and attacks the Jedi. He immediately kills Saesee Tiin and Agen Kolar. Anakin couldn't believe what he had just saw. This was impossible. He couldn't be the Sith Lord. The real fight began when Yoda and Windu engaged in a lightsaber fight, swinging with all of their might. Anakin struggled to enter, watching the duel unfold at unparalleled speeds and deadly precision. Sidious was faster than anyone ever thought possible, leaping across the room like a blur. He was transitioning through 7 forms of lightsaber combat, as he was proficient in all of them, something extremely rare in Force users. Windu focused his Form 7 variant Vapod, which allowed him to render Palpatine's dark side advantage useless. As Sidious blasted lightning at the Jedi, they deflected, and Anakin took this opportunity to join the battle. The fight was very long and grueling, and the sparks from the Chancellor's office could be seen for miles. Palpatine desperately tried to kill one of the Jedi, but their defense and offense were impeccable. He had no chance in defeating any of them. It was over. As Windu and Yoda distracted Palpatine, Anakin completed his chosen one destiny and killed the Dark Lord of the Sith. They had won. The death of Palpatine would be broadcast across the galaxy, alongside the news that the Clone Wars were over. When the Senate was informed that Palpatine was the one in control of the Separatists and responsible for all of the death and carnage, no one could truly believe it. A level of trust had been shaken, and although the Republic had won, their soul and essence had been tainted. Padme Amidala would be elected to rebuild the Republic following the war. This was an immensely difficult challenge, but one she knew would be crucial for the future. Alongside this, she and Anakin began raising their family, and it was clear that Anakin's visions were fake and planted by Palpatine. Their children were perfect, and they grew up to become extremely powerful. In the end, Yoda and Anakin would agree to tell the council about his relationship to Padme and how he is the father of her children. Though shocked at first, the council would accept it due to Anakin's status as the chosen one and his pivotal role in stopping Sidious. Not to mention that the blood of the chosen one could be trained and his children will grow into powerful Jedi. The future of the Republic looked bright, with Padme at the helm of leadership and Anakin, a newly appointed Jedi Master. Luke and Leia would grow up alongside the two of them, spending nights at home, but during the day, they were at the Jedi Temple with Anakin, learning about the Force. Anakin would instill in them the special knowledge he learned from Yoda, and Anakin always says that this saved his life. Controlling your emotions is the definitive trait of a Jedi, and Anakin would forever be grateful to Yoda for his tutelage. When Yoda eventually passed away, Anakin would take his place and become the next Grand Master of the Jedi Order, leading them into a new era of peace and prosperity. If you enjoyed today's video, you must watch What If the Jedi Council Trained Anakin, and What If Obi-Wan Was on Coruscant during Order 66. Please check out our saber shop, Fantasy Sabers, for the largest collection of replicas, Padawan sabers, and more. The link is first in the description. Thank you all for watching, and may the Force be with you.